Good morning.
Good morning, Janet. Good to see you.
Good to see you. My name is Janet Travers. I'm with the San Diego Writers and Editors Guild. I'm here to interview Bob Riffenburgh, who has a story in our San Diego Writers and Editors Guild anthology. Hi, Bob. How are you doing today?
Oh, together every other day.
We're gonna make it better. We're gonna perk it up, baby. Bob and I are in the same writers group, so we know each other pretty well for 2 whole years. And we critique each other's work, and it's my pleasure to interview him. So I'm going to ask you first, Bob, what is the name of the short story you have published in this anthology?
But our three, happily ever after, one called The Phone Call and one called 80616. When I was trying to make up a story about the theme of people thinking they would have good luck and then finding out that it wasn't so good after all. And I had his best possibilities and ended up with marriage, a medical appointment, and a road trip, and a road story for each one, and threw them all in. And the editorial guild in Cameroon picked them all.
It must be good enough to get 3 in, mister.
So, well, tell you roughly what they're about.
I don't have to go through each of the 3 stories because I'm really here to talk about you as a writer.
Oh.
Okay. So we don't have to go through your stories. It's just we're interested in you. And
Better not to have some spoiler anyway.
hey, you want to give it away. We want to read them. Out of all your short stories, do you have a favorite one that you've written?
Not really, when they're on maybe 4 or 5 favorites. Mostly, I think one of my favorites is a story about Solomon Island or World War II that was a good friend.
Well,
After the war, he went to the University of Hawaii. And so I made up a second half of his story.
regarding SDWEG, you were the president of it at one time, right?
Actually, I was the vice president. I was supposed to become the president. But at that day, I was in the hospital having an open heart surgery.
Oh,
And so I couldn't take it over.
what a slacker. You couldn't take over, huh? You were in the hospital.
So I stayed as vice president for the rest of my term.
What do you enjoy about being a member of the SDWEG?
I think it's all the great people in here. There are couples to the people are just a bunch of people and those who've gotten to know well, you included,
Well,
were just my dearest friends.
right. I'm flattered and I agree. I agree. Do you remember the first story that you ever wrote?
Yeah, I was about 16, I guess.
Mm.
And I've been reading about Middle East history and society in the past and got intrigued with their huge jars that they made out of clay, so big for olive oil that they could hold a human spy. And yet in War One it was that hid inside a empty hull and escape capture that way.
That's a heavy first story. That's pretty intense.
It wasn't very good. I didn't know what I was doing.
You did it. And that's not saying, hey, I like the girl next door. Bumped it up a notch. So that's pretty cool. What do you think is the most difficult part of your artistic process?
But there's just no question about it. Marketing. I wrote a 7-word essay that I'll take the time to tell you. Writing is God, marketing is the devil.
Wow.
I probably shouldn't have gotten into the writing business. I should have just writing memoirs for my family. But I got into it thinking I would be writing. But writing is like 5%. creativity is 1%, and then you write it down, which is semi-creative, and that's and get it written by iterators and rewrite it, and then you start submitting and getting rejected, submit, rejected, submit, rejected, and finally you get it accepted, and then the other half starts. You have to get it in the newspapers and bookstores and all sorts of things like that. Nothing creative about it. It's just
Okay, that's the fiction part. And since I know a little bit about you, how many novels have you written?
I've written 3.
3 novels you've written, Bob. Okay.
The first one I've published, and then I've written 2 more of the series. First one's very much a historical novel, which are shoot 'em up adventure stories, but it's a series. First one about undersea search for the weapon of mass destruction. The second one is about authentication of art.
Wow.
And they have characters and settings set up, but we'll never get to those.
And what about Mr. Sun? That's the one I'm most familiar with that I read.
Oh, yeah, that's the Thank you, Mr. Sun.
It's a wonderful book.
Story about a boy and teenager in Depression times in Appalachia and southwestern Virginia in the coal mining and small farming area in the mountains. His sister gets assaulted, and it's upon him to try to exact justice. And so he starts with childish imagination and gradually hones it into a serious adult to go after the perpetrators. Then he tries to take that on.
When you were writing that, it seemed to flow out of you. I recall you telling us. So was there any difficult part of that book or your artistic process in general? What do you find? What's the difficult part when you're writing?
In that book or in general?
I'm going to say in general, because let me do 2-part. That book seemed to flow out of you. For everyone listening, Bob reads this story in the proper accent that he grew up with, which is beautifully, amazingly different from the way he speaks. So that's something else. I'm not going to make you do an example unless you want to. But do you find anything difficult, or is it just all easy for you when you're writing fiction? We'll talk about nonfiction in a minute.
The first draft is pretty easy, and now it gets difficult. One that gives the thorny what I want to convey, and this gap between what the writer has in his mind, he's the settings, he knows the characters, but then there's what he's conveying and trying to fill in this gap so that I get a setting and a bunch of characters and all fixed in my mind. And then the story creates a challenge, and I almost like toy soldiers. I take my characters and put them in the setting and then spread this situation blanket over top of them. And then I just sit back, let them take it on, and I just get there and write down what they do and say.
Do you have much research to do when you're writing your novels? Or do you do much research when you write your novels?
Yeah, all the way through. At the beginning, there's just enough research to make sure that it will work, that I can do it, that I know enough or can learn enough to make it authentic, and I'm stuck on realism. I like to make them realistic, like they really could have happened. And then as I go along, I continue to do research on each piece as it appears.
Would that just be fact checking as opposed to heavy duty research of an area, let's say?
For example, recently a well story in which from the night an old man was offered to buy a for Model T. And for that, I decided I had to learn how to drive a Model T. And so they had three pedals on the floor, none of which is accelerating. The accelerator is underneath the steering. So I studied all the controls of how it worked and how you started with a crank in front and got to where if I met one, I could take it and drive it.
So you learned through reading, through researching.
I do
Uh,
know
I bet you could drive it. I don't think you could do it because I know you and you have an amazing mind. What is your writing process? Do you have a little routine? Do you have a lucky charm, a rabbit's foot? You get a cup of coffee.
no, I get stuck. I don't know what it is. The muse gets behind me and starts jabbing me with the little sharp knife and
A sharp knife, not a
something like that.
not
I go,
a
well, I
knife.
just gotta write. And so I start writing and then I fall into another world. I forget to eat. I forget to go to the toilet. I forget
Wow.
everything. I really am not out of the world. And then when something pushes me back in, I find all these things. Oh my goodness.
Do you go for hours? Can you go for
Yeah,
3 hours or
yeah, yeah. I'm going sometimes start at 10 in the morning and don't know what's happened until 5. My body almost shuts down and some living in the body goes into a unconscious state. And
I'm going to just jump to nonfiction for a second. Is it the same thing for when you've written nonfiction? And we'll talk about how many articles you've written after you answer the question.
nonfiction has about 3/4 of the same challenges as fiction does. But you've got to think about the order of presentation, how you will present it, the words that you choose sensible to the reader, all of these things, and the editing at the end and the marketing and all that stuff. It's just saying I did 4 editions of the medical textbook back when I was professional photographer. And that has very many of the same characteristics as writing fiction.
It has the same characteristics?
A lot of the same characteristics.
Very interesting to me because it's non-fiction, but maybe we're saying the discipline, the actual execution of is the same.
You know, new information, facts, relationships that you've got to present, and the mode of presentation is the challenge in writing. And then whether you get that from mathematical derivation, you get it from imagining the setting in your mind, you've got the material, and from then on, it's pretty much the same process.
You have to figure out how to present it. That this is just me asking this. Do you have to think about how to present it in an interesting fashion to people who don't know what you're talking about, like me?
Yeah.
Okay. Which would be
Realistic, you've got with the nonfiction, you're constrained to keep to facts. You can't make up stuff. It's a little more constrained.
what? You can't make up those scientific facts? No? Darn it.
There are people who do,
Yes, there are.
not one of them.
All right, I'm going to go back to fiction again. How often do you base your characters on real people?
Ooh,
Ooh.
I never have an actual real person presented, but they almost always have characteristics of somebody. I can take from this person and
How do you select the names of your characters?
look up Google a set of names, say from the Solomon Islander story I mentioned before. I look up what are common names of the Solomon Islands. And then I get this list of names and start going through, and I say the name, position from the right. Does that sound right? No. I go into another name and I keep doing it till I get 2 or 3 names that sound right, and then I whittle it down to one.
Did you ever find that it was astonishing or funny. I researched something and I thought it would be an exotic name on a little island, and the most common name was Michael. That's just the way it goes.
I studied in college in 86, being I had written the story and just made up highway Interstate 86 because there wasn't one. I looked it up and there wasn't one in the country, so I just used that. And then I wrote the story, and then my critique group said, "Oh, 86, that means get rid of something."
Yep.
I said, "Oh, it does?" So they said I should use the name 86, 6. That's what I did.
I remember that. We were surprised because you're so much about a lot of different topics. And we were like, 86, 86, this guy. But this is what I found out something new.
I'm always doing new things now because I'm so old. And most of my early learning was 89 years ago.
One time, of the many times I was flattering you, I called you a Renaissance man. Do you remember that?
You don't
And
really
what I said you're a Renaissance man, and you said, "No, I'm not. I'm curious."
curiosity is a basic nature of you. It's both a blessing and a curse. It makes life interesting, but it also keeps me hopping from thing to thing instead of one and becoming a real expert. But it's curiosity seems to be a characteristic of my whole family, and everybody is curious. And we talk about these who have come to visit from the outside, say they're just exhausted when they leave because of all the things we bring up and talk about what we're trying to.
It's like a stimulating conversation. You're not watching The Simpsons together, no?
I didn't get that.
You're not watching TV together. You're actually having in-depth conversations.
Oh, yeah, well, we watch TV with somebody else's ideas when we've got our own.
Somebody, I love that. Somebody else's idea. It sounds very stimulating to me. But if you could only change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Pretty easily. I turned the clock back 60 years to where I was in my middle 30s. That's old enough to be with you, but young enough to have a lot of energy. And then I have time for things that I want to do that I'll never get time for.
I am surprised because you really have done a lot of things. We're not going to go through your entire life history, but that's an interesting answer. You'd go back and you'd do more. That's how Renaissance man-ish I think you are. And
That's a product of curiosity.
it's based on curiosity.
I want to know where everything comes from, how it works. My whole question in life is how and why.
Or you,
Not when, where, or what, but how
why?
did it happen and why did it happen?
Now, was this your whole fit? Were your parents like this? Are your
Yes.
siblings this? Everybody was.
Yeah, pretty much everybody in the family, my children and my grandchildren, everybody's like,
That's wonderful. Pretty good. That's a beautiful thing. So, were they interested in literature? Your parents? Did they read a lot?
yeah, and my dad was a chemistry professor, and he spent most of his time just with the profession, so he was reading technical journals. But my mother was a language major in college. She was like taught me French when I was a child.
You had a lot of books around your house, and you natural curiosity.
And books are like, I didn't find being a spiritual failure in a library where I'm surrounded by thousands of books. I'm just going and I feel spiritually fulfilled and overwhelmed because I'll never be able to read them all.
So it's your religion in a way, maybe perhaps.
Very much, yeah.
I can add that in because we've had these conversations, and I think that's a lovely sentiment. Regarding San Diego, what's one of your favorite things? Go Padres, by the way, which is why I'm wearing my hat. How long have you been in San Diego? Are you from San Diego?
My dad was teaching college in a little town in Appalachia. And so I lived through the Depression and the Second World War. worked my way through college and then studied graduate work at the University of Hawaii and went back for my doctorate. So I was moving around. By the time I settled in San Diego, that was like 55 to 60 years ago. So I've been in this house, which is the first house built in the, I've been here for all those years.
Oh. And it's a beautiful house. So what's next for you? Are you writing something right now? What are you in the middle of? Or are you starting something?
Well, pretty well with the marketing of Mr. Sun, but I'd write short stories when sticks me with it and makes me start writing.
Could you repeat that whole last sentence for me? Because I didn't get it. So if I said, what is next for you? What are you writing right now?
So I put it with the marketing of my book. Thank you, Mr. Sun. Sometimes you strands me with squawks in the back and makes me start writing. I write short stories. So I've been writing a bunch of short stories up to 40.
I think it was 162 medical papers written. Is that correct?
I think when
How many? I'm sorry.
I'm not medical, I hopped all around. There's some fisheries, some oceanographics, some economics, some sociology, some psychology, and some biology and space exploration, papers on a whole lot of different things. And a lot of them are medical.
Were you hired to do this, or were these projects that you wrote?
It's working for the Navy.
What's that last sentence? I didn't understand that.
I was working for the Navy.
Oh, the Navy. So then working for the Navy, and you just covered all these subjects. That is,
On different fields of medicine because the analysis it was done for everything, dentistry and nursing, and ophthalmology and otolaryngology, nephrology, and all the different medical fields. So it was great fun. I was playing at everybody else's sandbox. That's not original.
if you said you were 89, you're lying about your age. You're 94. When did you start writing fiction? You didn't start writing fiction until you were 90. Is that correct?
Trying to be an author, a fiction author,
I think you're a wonderful role model. When you were 90, you decided to have a new career and write fiction.
That's right.
How did you come to that decision? You just said, I want to do this.
I just didn't want the stress of profession anymore. I wanted to do things on my own terms and my own time. I wanted to sleep late in the morning. If I put it this way, you get up to go to work, you know you have to go to work. It's a drag. I wake up, I don't have to go to work. I still get up, but it's not a drag. It's fun because I can do things in life. So I wanted peace in my life. I had too much stress over the years, and I didn't want to jump out of airplanes or anything crazy like that. I just wanted to peace without stress. And then marketing came along and put me under extreme stress.
So you wrote your 3 novels in 4 years? Is that
Plus 44 short stories. Working on the 5th edition of my textbook, Statistics in Medicine.
so you're still doing that work?
Little bit. I got a co-author to take it over, and I'm just contributing a little bit.
I'm going to repeat this. You wrote 44 short stories and 3 novels in 4 years. Very impressive. So I want to thank you, Bob Riffenburgh. Is there anything else you want to add here that I didn't perhaps ask you?
Thank the Guild for all its support and for all the wonderful people that are involved. I really appreciate it.
Good. We want to thank you for having this interview. This is the new anthology, and we hope everybody buys it and reads Bob's 3 stories. And I'll see you at our next meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.